YouTube, we have another Nader video. In this one here, we're going to Cookeville, Tennessee. Little FYI, I'm sick, so if I have to mute a lot, whatever, I apologize. And if my voice doesn't sound the best, once again, I apologize. We're going to do our best, though. We're going to do our best. But today, once again, we're going to Cookeville. Let's check this out.
Midnight, March 3rd, 2020, Cookeville, Tennessee. The residents of this college town are fast asleep. It's a relative.
Yo, also seen, the date of this recording is May 21st. Over the last week, I've seen, like, Tennessee getting lit up. Like with tornado warnings and stuff. Extremely close to Cookeville, by the way.
Relatively calm night, nothing out of the ordinary for an early spring in the foothills of the Cumberland Plateau. But while Cookeville residents snoozed, approximately 70 miles to the west was a completely different story.
Carla, there's a real tornado right there. Oh my God. Oh my God, oh my God, oh my God!
It's chaos in downtown Nashville.
Oh my goodness.
A high-end tornado is in
Nashville, Tennessee. That dude appeared to be like really high up. Look, if you ever get tornado warned and you think, a tornado's heading your way, you need to start getting off those high floors. Take the stairs. No elevators.
in progress through an extremely populated region of the city. This nocturnal terror crosses the Cumberland River into East Nashville, where significant EF3 damage would ensue. The parent storm is racing at highway speeds due east, churning out of Nashville and towards Cookeville. At 1:48 local time, a tornado from the Nashville supercell would touch down on Thompson Ridge west of town. Over the next 8 minutes, western Cookeville would be assaulted by a half-mile wide beast packing a deadly punch.
They say a half mile wide? Whew.
Neighborhoods were obliterated in seconds as the storm blistered eastward at 60 miles per hour. But just as soon as it came,
I'm sorry, boys, it'll never cease to amaze me that tornadoes are moving that fast. Even at 50, somewhere between 50 to 70 miles per hour. There's nothing you can do. It's hard to even prepare for that with an early warning.
It lifted south of the Tennessee Tech campus, narrowly avoiding downtown. Morning daylight painted a bleak picture in Cookeville. While the tornado itself was short-lived,
there's a boat. Whew. Look at that damage, man. Once again, trees are splintered, cracked, debarked, and just people's lives scattered. Man.
lived in less than 10 miles long. In that short span of time, nearly 200 homes were destroyed. The lives of 19 residents were taken, and nearly 100 more were severely injured. How could such a short-lived tornado cause such immense loss? These are the types of numbers that we would associate with a longer-lived, more violent tornado. Once we dive into the details, however, Cookeville was a story of everything going wrong. While the Cookeville story has many moving parts, let's start with the weather system at play and its associated forecast. It's complicated at best. Over Tennessee, strong westerly flow prevailed in the upper levels of the atmosphere. While it wasn't the typical trough shape that we're used to seeing with a tornado outbreak, the wind speed was there to support severe weather. At the surface, a long cold front was sprawled across the continent as it was associated with a strong surface low over northern Ontario. A localized low formed along the southern Illinois border, draping a warm front over central Tennessee. allowing for the funneling of a moisture-rich environment with the southerly surface flow. Cap erosion was the biggest question mark with the setup, as convective inhibition and weak descent would limit daytime storms, delaying severe storm development until the low-level jet would kick in that evening. Additionally, atmospheric computer models varied wildly from output to output, putting even more uncertainty in the forecasters. As the day evolved, some confidence grew in the strength of storms, resulting in an increase to a 15% hatched area for hail and a 5% tornado risk over western Tennessee. At around 11 p.m., a supercell formed north of Jackson, Tennessee, and an extremely localized tornado watch was placed for Nashville and counties further west. For the next several hours, this cyclical supercell would produce tornado after tornado, including the EF3 in Nashville. This storm continued to march east, eventually beyond the denoted tornado watch and even the SPC highlighted 2% tornado risk area. With the complicated forecast at play, the National Weather Service's Storm Prediction Center and the local weather forecast offices had their hands full. For the entire day leading up to the Cookeville tornado, the eastward extent of the threat was not realized. Cookeville fell outside of the 2% tornado risk contour.
Man, that's unlucky. But that goes to show you, even when you're looking at these satellites and stuff, or even like this here, I feel like if you're anywhere around this, even just outside of it, you need to pay close attention to what's going on around you. And yeah, I feel like if you're National Weather Service or anything like that, and you're not sure, I would just go ahead and issue the warning. A better safe than sorry thing from me. Just my 2 cents.
And even by the 11 p.m. tornado watch, the atmosphere over Cookeville was in theory not conducive for tornado risk. However, the low-level jet had ramped up the effective storm relative helicity to an extreme 500 meters squared per second squared, creating a classic high shear, low cape environment. At 1:48 a.m. local time, the Cookeville tornado touched down 8 miles west of downtown. Starting just northwest of the small town of Baxter, the tornado rolled off of the mountains rather weak, causing only EF0 damage for the first 2.5 miles of its life. The tornado strengthened in the western suburbs of Cookeville, causing a mile-long stretch of EF4 damage to residential homes.
Dude, it went from a 0 to a 4 in a snap of a finger.
The tornado incrementally weakened from there before dissipating just south of Tennessee Tech University.
Oh, okay, sweet. That's
Even
good.
though there wasn't a tornado watch in place over Cookeville, what about the tornado warning? After all, that is the main type of alert that prompts immediate action when it comes to sheltering from tornadoes. At this point in the nowcast, with the Nashville tornado tracking for over 60 miles, it was realized that this supercell had a history. However, the timing of Cookeville's warning was unfortunately too little, too late. The Nashville National Weather Service office issued a tornado warning for Cookeville at 1:48 a.m. Central Standard Time. At the exact same time, the tornado was touching down in Baxter. This meant sleepy residents had, at best, 8 minutes of warning to find shelter. For those that were in the path in the tornado's opening moments,
That's not good. That's not good. I feel like I would have just slung the warning out there precautionary. Just in case. Were they that close? But nonetheless, they were able to get out a warning. Yeah, it was only 8 minutes. But I'm sure some people were able to see it and maybe get cover. Or shelter, rather. But it's also rough, man. You got to keep in mind, 1:48 a.m. Most people are just fully asleep. They're hard to wake up. If they're anything like me, they're hard to wake up. It's just, man, super late, short warning. People think they're out of distance of the potential for a tornado, so they think they're completely safe. It's just an absolute recipe for disaster.
this meant virtually zero warning. Keep in mind, Cookeville was in a marginal risk for most of March 2nd, well outside of the 2% tornado risk contour. Nocturnal tornadoes were not something that Cookeville residents were expecting when they went to bed on the night of the 2nd. Fatalities in the Cookeville tornado had on average 4.8 minutes of warning before the tornado impacted, while the national average for EF3 and greater tornadoes is 16. Now, what if a resident heaved the warning and got to an interior room for their shelter? In Cookeville, that wasn't necessarily enough. The most intense damage could be seen along Hensley Drive.
So I'm curious here. What we seen, like, it didn't make it all the way into town. This here was just it just hit essentially the outer spots of town. See, I was sitting in there in my head thinking that there was going to be like a second tornado, go through town, which I'm thankful is not the case. It's just that's what I was thinking was going to happen in my head.
Where a row of well-built homes sustained EF4 damage. While well anchored, the CM...
Oh my goodness. Man, RIP to the ones that lost their lives here. And that sucks, dude. The people's that houses got destroyed and such. But that town is so stinking lucky it didn't push further. That would have been a nightmare. Imagine, 1:48 a.m., you have practically no warning. The people go to bed thinking they're going to be completely safe because they're just out of that area. Once again, 1:48 a.m., so people are sleeping heavy. And you have a tornado coming out of nowhere producing EF4 damage. What a nightmare. And, we got to keep in mind here, too, that these people probably went to bed thinking, no chance of tornado. Like, they're out of that zone. It's just devastating.
CMU block foundations were not strong enough as the walls acted like levers, separating the blocks from the mortar joints. This meant all of the structure above was compromised, making even interior bathrooms unsurvivable. Aerial imagery the next morning revealed the vicious...
My lord. Is that a car laying upside down in the foundation of that house, of what used to be a house? That is a car flipped upside down inside the foundation. And another one kind of in the foundation as well. My goodness.
Nature of the tornado, with frames of homes shredded beyond recognition and cars tossed. Survey teams even found walkway concrete pavers lifted from...
That used to be a sidewalk. Man. What do you even say about that? Like, I hate what happened to the people here, but thankful the storm didn't track a few more miles.
From their original positions, and entire home subfloors pushed from their foundations. In total, 23 structures were rated EF4, 17 of which had 0 above-ground walls remaining. In short, the Cookeville tornado was a multifaceted disaster, starting with the complicated forecast that yielded an unlikely, long-lived supercell. The event timing was at night, catching most residents while they were fast asleep. There was not enough advanced warning, with only a few minutes to act versus the typical 15 for a tornado of this magnitude. And finally, home foundations that were not ideal, with CMU block foundations that were compromised under the intense tornadic wind loads and pressure deviations. All of these factors led to Cookeville being Tennessee's deadliest tornado in over a decade. While the 19 lives lost in the Cookeville tornado cannot be replaced, their lives are forever immortalized in the community at large. On the corner of Hensley and McBroom Chapel Road now lies Hope Park, built on the grounds of what used to be the home of the Kimberlin family, as it serves as a passive place of remembrance for those lost. The Cookeville tornado will be the embodiment.
Dude, there's nothing like that kind of brings it home more. Like, don't get me wrong, like, you hear a tornado, you hear fatalities, like, you feel bad. But when they also put the names and the face to it, like, it really hits. You know, you're looking at that, what used to be a family.
Of everything that could go wrong, going wrong. Whether it be nocturnal warning methods or even poured foundations versus CMU block foundations, these lessons can be applied to the next nocturnal tornado event, because it's not a matter of if another nocturnal tornado is going to happen in some town in America, but a matter of when. So we take these lessons from the Cookeville tornado and apply them across the board so we can be ready for the next disaster that might strike your town. And as always, stay safe out there.
All right. Yo, thank you. June 1st, man. Check him out. I'll have a link to the description of this video and his YouTube page to check out. He makes a lot of tornado videos and stuff, so all those links will be in the description below. So, shout out to my boy June 1st. Thank you. Amazing video, brother. Per usual. And I mean, he went over some of those key points the best. Nocturnal. Oh yeah, a little comment on that. I learned that, like, in Arkansas, 1/3 of all the tornadoes are nocturnal. Dude, that is so scary. So you got mountainous regions, so it makes it more difficult to see at a distance. Plus they're moving at nighttime. Plus they can be rain wrapped. Dude, what do you do? And then you add in a situation like this. You have an area that's just out of the, what they think is going to be the impacted areas. So these people are going to bed thinking, hey, we're outside of this. We're fine. And then it's almost 2 a.m. Dude, that's so creepy. So if you... at the time of filming this, we're in May, right? So if you do get, if you're near areas that are getting hit with some bad storms, tornado warned and stuff like that, and you're just on the outskirts of that, it's probably in your best interest to just keep an eye on it. Stay awake, turn your alerts up really loud on your phones if you can. Whatever. Just try to still be vigilant. Is the best way I can think to describe it. Try to remain vigilant. This tornado journey's been crazy for me because I've learned so much. I always associated, a tornado had to be massive to be strong. That's not the case. We see something like the Eli Canada tornado that was just 150 feet wide. Well, I say just 150 feet wide because that's still, but when you compare it to something like El Reno, 2.6 miles wide, it's relatively small. But just the size of a tornado doesn't always dictate the strength. It just, man, what a learning experience this has been so far, and I still learn things every day. Not only from watching the videos, but also people in the comments, talking about just their life stories and events that took place while they were growing up in Tornado Alley, Dixie Alley, and so on and so forth. And once again, not just that as well. There's just some people that have done amazing research and have learned a lot. Thank you all for sharing that, man. It's been an eye-opening experience, especially for me. Because even now, like, my area, like, you take my area that I live in, wasn't even tornado warned, but I had areas around me that were getting kind of impacted. And, I stayed up and paid attention, man, just in case. Just in case, man. You never know. So, if you do live in those areas like that, even if you're on the outskirts and you think you're perfectly fine, have a plan. There's nothing wrong with having a plan in place. And be cautious. Keep that phone kind of close by. Lay it up there next to your head. Turn the volume all the way up. That way if, an alert goes off, hopefully that will let you know. maybe period. I tell you what I did. I just stayed awake, man. I got me a monster. Come over here, pulled up a radar, pulled up a couple of YouTube channels, High Velocity and Ryan Hall. You know, those guys do amazing jobs, and and I was trying to look at my own radar too. Just learning experience, and we was up. But Cookeville, it's a perfect example. Just on the outskirts, man, it can still happen. It can still happen, and it doesn't have to be a massive long track tornado. This is a short-lived tornado. Luckily enough, it didn't go through all of town. That would have been I don't even want to imagine. We're not going to talk about it. RIP to those that lost their lives there. Hopefully the place is able to rebuild and, lessons are learned in times like that. Hopefully people take heed to the warnings and, to the weather services and stuff like that, man. If you're not sure, and this is just me, I'm sure you got guidelines and rules. I could be wrong here. Just throw a warning on that dang thing, bro. Why not? The worst you're going to do is inconvenience people. Slightly. They'll live. They'll be okay. Best case scenario, you save lives. Just my 2 cents there. Anyways, dude, what a wild one. Cookeville, just out on the outskirts. Boom, there it is. It's over in a relatively short period of time, and lives destroyed. Just that quick, guys. That quick. Insane. All right, guys. I am Cheap. Thank you all for watching. If you enjoyed the video, like, subscribe, and all that good stuff. We'll catch you in the next one.